Hello, guys. It's DannyDealz here. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. You demand it, you deserve it. And executive producer extraordinaire, Hurricane Lopez, gives you that little bit more that you demand. I'm back to give you another exciting video. I know you're on the edge of your seat about UBX, United Biotechnology Inc., ticker symbol UBX. If you are an investor in this company, you know the stock got cut in half today, down 53% to $1.95, up a nickel, a wooden nickel after hours to $2. The stock had closed at $4.15, opened at $2.22, got all the way down to $1.94 and closed only 1 cent above that, which is bad news. Stock didn't really bounce after the initial fall. It kind of fell and then just bled sideways from about 222 all the way down to buck 95. Um, okay, the headlines, the top line results are obviously bad. The question now and the question everybody's been, you know, coming with all day is, should I dump now? Obviously, the institutions, they dump overnight. By the time the market opens, you're basically screwed. You're left and you're sitting there going, well, there's two schools of thought. It's dropped so far. Why would I dump now? Because they have data coming out next month on 48 week for DME, and it's already just got cut in half. And then the other school of thought is, well, the writing's on the wall. This thing is a turd. It failed its big clinical trial for the knee pain. It had a little bit of good news here in the vision game. It got a pump. It pumped back up to 550, and that's as high as it's going to get. And all of us suckers bought in, and now we got the massive rug pull. I don't know. Personally, I'm not going to dump my shares right now. I don't have a huge position in the stock, but I do have a significant position. And I guess the question is, is all hope lost? I this morning thought, oh my God, this is terrible. This is not working nearly as well as the control and the anti VEGF treatment, and basically this is hopeless for wet AMD. And after I watched the 45-minute talk by management, did some more research, I find that, all hope may not be lost for AMD. First, with the data, there was a very unusual uptick in the control um, over the first 2 weeks of the trial. So, right away, for patients that hadn't been responding to the VEGF treatments, unexpectedly, their vision got like 3 to 4 lines better, the visual acuity in the first 2 weeks, and they basically held those gains throughout the trial. Whereas the UBX 1325 just had a tiny reduction in vision, basically not a big loss, but no gain, and they just basically stayed flat. So that's why the basically this failed the trial. There was an unexpected quite large gain in visual acuity on the VEGF treatments that were simply unexpected with the trial design. UBX 1325, there was a little bit of good news in that more than 50% of the patients did not need rescue doses of the VEGF treatment for the duration of the 24 weeks. I think the number was 56%, and they basically maintained visual acuity with only injections at week 0 and 4, where the VEGF treatments were basically injected every 8 weeks, I believe. And they had a baseline. They'd been on those treatments. So I think it was aflibercept. This is the trade name is Eylea. And I think that's the control we were trying to prove. This is not inferior to, and we got a result that would indicate it may be inferior, but I just am not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you understand anti VEGF treatments, and I am not a big science person, but I would, this is a good article. I gave it a read. Macular Degeneration Research Anti VEGF Treatments for Wet Age Related Macular Degeneration by Joshua Dunayev, MD, PhD, and he's from the University of Pennsylvania. Late 2022. Just basically, wet AMD, people can lose central vision from abnormal blood vessels that grow in the retina. These vessels leak fluid into the retina, causing it to become wet in the short term. Basically, this causes grayness, appearances of central vision. If left untreated, the abnormal vessels, fluid, and associated scar tissue, the loss of central vision can become permanent. Um, so, after years of intensive research, people with AMD secrete too much of a protein called vascular, it's basically VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, causing growth and leakage in the blood vessels. So there's currently 6 drugs at this time, late 2022, used to treat this condition. For most people, they need to be injected into the eye every 4 to 12 weeks. And I know at least 2 of these companies, I think, are working on injections of the VEGF that needs to be done less frequently, like every 12 weeks. Um, each of these drugs can reduce or eliminate fluid in most people. Avastin, the least expensive because it's purchased in bulk for off-label use. Um, so the problem, I guess, with the VGEF treatments is it also affects healthy tissues. So you're tearing down both healthy and unhealthy blood vessels. They have so while you can have positive effect, you're also doing some damage. Um, the idea, the new treatments are on the horizon. I'm not exactly sure. I read this a bit earlier, but there's other therapies in phase 3. But if you go over here to senolytic therapy, entirely new paradigm in the Retina Specialist publication, you'll see this article with Raj K. Maturi. I don't know if he worked for UBX. And But anyway, this is a good article if you basically want to understand the idea of UBX 1325. And if you take a look at this, it's not unexpected that the DME data would be better than the wet AMD data because this was what we observed in the phase 1 study is that there was a far more dramatic effect in DME than there was AMD. So in DME, at week 24, 62.5% of the patients gained equal to or greater than 5 letters, and 50% gained equal to or greater than 10 letters. Those are, if you understand these tests, those are huge gains. Um, the structure improved, but then it came back to baseline somewhat after a few weeks. Overall, central subfield thickness remained stable through 24 weeks in most DME patients. And then if you move down to what the results were like in wet AMD, it says right in the answer, well, the results weren't as robust as in DME. The AMD patients had 5-letter gain on average in the first 2 to 3 weeks of treatment. They maintained this vision gain throughout, with more patients requiring rescue treatments than the DME group. The biggest key takeaway we found is that UBX 1325 is relatively safe in the eye. The second takeaway is that they had a biologic effect. This was also shown in this failure of phase 2A here, or phase 2. There was improvement in the vision diabetes patients, as well as AMD patients, and but basically, even back here, the AMD patients were not getting nearly as dramatic a result as in DME. So, um, UBX can either continue with AMD, and they're going to do that. In the key here, I think we have to realize is that up until now, these are being compared like they're competitors. Like UBX 1325 is a competitor with VEGF treatments, and in some cases it's been kind of billed that way. But the next step, at least with regard to the AMD trial, is a follow on where they're actually going to use a combination of UBX 1325 to go after the senescent cells, and they'll use that with the VEGF treatment to see if we can help maintain the healthy tissues, attack the protein the VEGF goes after, and perhaps the combination of those two might yield some impressive results. We simply don't know. But to say that UBX 1325 is completely dead for wet AMD, I don't think that's the case. Visual acuity was basically maintained over 24 weeks with two smaller doses. Now, was it disappointing? Hell yeah, it was disappointing. I mean, there's no doubt that this was disappointing, but again, I look at it like the market cap's been cut down to like 30 million. Um, and the market didn't react really as poorly as I thought it might. This was a big headline failure, and I know it's horrible whenever you get cut in half, and nobody likes to get cut in half. But if you really look, the stock was down near $2. You know, as recently as November, so less than 6 months ago, or about 6 months ago. And then we're just down under $2, and we came back to two after hours with that wooden nickel. It's going up, 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 but no, that's funny. So this comes into a little bit of just psychology. What do you do after a stock gets cut in half and you have a bad result like this? First off, you can't take it personally. You can't live in the past. You can't cry about manipulation. The science just wasn't there. The data wasn't there, and if you invested in this, you got hit very hard, and that's the nature of penny stocks. This company was sort of all or nothing with this drug. This drug, they are looking at two indications, and again, so the question is now you've lost. We're sitting here at $2. We are where we are. Do you buy, sell, or hold at this level? I'm going to go ahead and hold my shares. I'm not going to add any more shares. I already bought quite a few down in the low twos, mid twos, late last year. So I don't feel the need to go out and load the boat. If this goes down a little bit more, $1.80, $1.75. I'll probably load some more shares. Just because we do have the one positive was the company said new readout is coming in April for the 48-week DME, and they made up obviously a lot of noise about that. Said the drug is not dead. The drug was looking at two indications. I would argue it's not completely dead for wet AMD, but certainly had a big setback. DME, we've still had a positive readout each time, and this would be backed up by this interview back in 2022. The results have always looked better for DME than they have for AMD. It's just the nature of the diseases are different, so this drug is not going to have the exact same effect and work equally well on both diseases. They're both diseases of the eye, and they have certain similar characteristics, but they're not the exact same thing. And again, this is why I would encourage you to watch the investor presentation, the call. There's some really good questions that were asked by the Mizuho analyst. There's another, I forget where another guy is from, Australian analyst, but there are some really good questions. So not only watch the presentation by the CEO and the medical director and the other physician, MD from Sierra Eye Associates. I forget all the names at the Dr. Ghosh. I forget the medical director, but he's on top of things. I know these results are very, very disappointing, but if you look at where this thing is, and even if it works better for DME or it works better for AMD in combination with a VEGF treatment, um, I think it's way too soon to put the nail in the coffin of UBX. The idea of going after these senescent cells as a method of action, as a type of drug, a type of treatment, types of therapies, they're very new, and this is not for the impatient investor who wants to get rich overnight and thought, even if this data looked good, I think a lot of people are expecting it to look good. I think we'd already run up most of the way. I don't think we were going to run up huge like people were expecting, or probably some people were expecting. Would have been nice, but in any case, I don't think these results are terrible. I don't think they're completely unexpected, and I don't think they mean that UBX is a lost cause. Whether you choose to keep with your position or sell and preserve your capital and move on to something else, I think it's a question of confidence. Do you have confidence in two things? The first is the science, the technology, the product, etc. In this case, it's the drug. It's not just UBX 1325, but it's this whole idea of senolytic therapies that go after senescent cells, and it's a new way to attack disease while trying to preserve healthy structure, healthy tissue. And I think it holds a lot of promise, but I think it's very early, and I don't think you can expect every trial with 50 patients that's like 25 patients in each arm. You just can't expect the data to come back the way you want it to every time. But this data set was good. It wasn't based on a lot of outliers, and the data just, it was not convincing that UBX 1325 is the best treatment. It didn't convince me that it has no value either. So, particularly in combination with VEGF, could still have some value for AMD. The next readout is coming. So, whether you or not you have the confidence in the product, in the secret sauce, if you will, the magic fairy dust that this company, the jazz hands, the sizzle, whether you have the confidence in their product is somewhat up to you. This obviously isn't gonna like make the confidence meter shoot through the roof. But I think if you watch the talk, if you listen to the questions, you can at least take solace in point two. Do you have confidence in management? I retain confidence in the CEO, Dr. Ghosh, or oh my gosh, I don't know how to pronounce that properly, Anirvan. And then the medical director, he seems very good. And then this other doctor who works with them from Sierra, I don't know if he's a paid consultant or he's just helping to run the trials, but he seems like a very much a leading expert. And I think they still are looking at not just this data, and the mood on the call was horrible. I mean, obviously, they're looking at their stock ripped 50%, just, you know, cut. It's just, these days are absolutely brutal. I mean, they're brutal for even a relatively small investor. And imagine how they feel for the CEO, medical director, the people that have been working on these things for years, running these trials. It's got to be a kick right in the gut. But at the same time, if you got past the somber tone and listened to what they actually said, I don't think we can lose confidence in management at this point. They were very much looking forward to the 48-week data in DME. Very much looking forward to the combination of UBX 1325 with the anti-VEGF treatment in terms of looking at AMD. And that combination could work with other diseases of the eye as well. So, number one, do you have confidence in the secret sauce, the product, the drug, whatever it might be? Number two, do you have confidence in management? Number one, I'm a little shaky on. Number two is a check mark for me. That means a hold. I'm not going to add anything heavily unless we see a major sell off on no bad news in advance of the 48-week readout. That's all I've got for you today. Again, I would strongly encourage you to do your own research, whether you're thinking about starting a new position, whether you're trying to decide to dump or to hold, or perhaps to add after this massive haircut we took. But that's the nature of the beast, guys. You're going to lose half your money on these stocks, and can it keep going down? Absolutely, it can keep going down. This thing probably will keep going down until we get that 48-week readout, which I hope is coming soon, and I hope it's good. But for now, UBX went from 14.15 to $2, and it hurts, but You got to pick up the pieces and move on from where you are now. I want to thank you for watching Un poco mas. My name is DannyDealz for executive producer Hurricane Lopez. We hope you guys have a great night. It's about 6 p.m. out here in Los Angeles, 9 p.m. in New York City. We hope it's a great day or night wherever you are. It's March 27, 2023. Just got hit with bad phase 2 data for wet AMD UBX 1325 phase 2. Company is going to try and pick up the pieces and soldier on, as shall we. Thank you guys. Have a good night.